I was asked to give a video Teisho that addressed the particular situation we have found ourselves in over the past several weeks with the coronavirus pandemic. I believe that the student who asked for it had mentioned that some of you would find it comforting to hear from me. I appreciate that student's confidence in my ability, but I really resist being videoed, but we'll give it a try because the question about comfort is kind of an important one. So let's just start there with that thought. Where do we find comfort during a pandemic? How does our practice help us deal with all the uncertainties that this public health crisis has brought about? How does practice alleviate our feelings of uncertainty, confusion, depression, despair, anger, fear, anxiety, loneliness? How can our practice take away all that suffering? Well, one way to look at it is to recognize that our core practice, zazen, quiets the mind and slows things down. It temporarily stops that endlessly circulating rumination about all the what ifs that lie before us like a labyrinth, all the unknown twists and turns that we're going to have to face. Practice provides us with a mental space in which we can appreciate that we have life right here, right now. We don't have to wait for it. And that we have this really splendid opportunity to find out who or what we really are. Ultimately, though, relaxing into practice like this is about discovering that we're not practicing to restore some false sense of normalcy or enduring stability. The Buddha's teaching was based on the law of impermanence, not permanence. It's all about how we respond to change and loss, not on restoring some lost, enduring thing. Another way to look at practice as a source of comfort is to recognize that it is not different from our feelings of uncertainty, confusion, depression, and all those things. In fact, it is those very feelings in which we find the source of awakening. You may think that doesn't sound very Buddhist. After all, isn't Buddhism supposed to bring about an end to suffering? So I want to make clear that what I really mean when I say that suffering is the source of awakening is that any examination of your life, any sincere journey toward awakening simply cannot happen apart from pain and suffering. This practice is all about your life as you're living it right here, right now, not some other life that you haven't found yet. Now, you can try to use practice to blank out or bliss out or otherwise blot out your suffering, but you'll be destined for a life of denial and suffering anyway. And into the mix, you'll be robbing yourself of the opportunity to find out who you really are. So stop trying to be a master of enlightenment. That's a lost cause and only deepens your suffering. Instead, just be greatly enlightened about suffering. When you do this, then practice becomes far vaster than you can imagine. It opens up before you as the illimitable reality, encompassing all, excluding nothing. So to practice in the pandemic, practice the pandemic. See that the wheel of Dharma turns only in the ocean of suffering. Without samsara, the wheel simply will not turn. Even the strength of a greatly enlightened being like the Buddha would still not be enough to turn the wheel if it were not for your suffering. Which is to say that you brought forth the Buddha once before. You brought forth the world-honored one. All you have to do now is to realize it.